It started as an ordinary Saturday afternoon, the kind where life quietly passes by unnoticed. But for everyone in that small-town restaurant, that day became unforgettable, all because of one man who chose to stand up when no one else did. And when his sleeve rolled up and the faded navy tattoo showed, everything changed. The restaurant buzzed with soft chatter, clinking forks, and the faint hum of old country music. At a corner booth sat Daniel Hayes, a 38-year-old single dad, quietly sharing fries with his 9-year-old daughter, Lily. She was laughing about her science project, showing him a drawing of planets with crooked orbits. Daniel smiled, the kind of smile that carried both love and weariness, the look of a man who'd seen too much and yet found peace in small things. Then, it happened. At the next table, a woman's voice trembled, not loud, but enough to cut through the calm. "I said no," she whispered, pushing back her chair slightly. Across from her, a man twice her size leaned in, his tone low but sharp with anger. The people around froze, pretending not to notice. The waiters hesitated. That uncomfortable silence, the kind that makes your heart race, filled the room. Lily looked up at her dad, confused. "Daddy, is she okay?" Daniel's jaw tightened. He'd promised himself never to get involved in fights again. Not after the Navy. Not after the years of trying to keep peace within himself. But then he saw the fear in the woman's eyes, the same kind of fear he once saw in a mother holding her child in a war-torn village. That was enough. He stood up. Every movement was calm, deliberate. "Sir," Daniel said, his voice low and steady, "I think she wants you to leave her alone." The man turned, eyes flaring. "Who the hell are you?" Daniel didn't answer. He just stepped a little closer, his posture unshaken, his eyes steady. The woman, mid-30s, brown hair, trembling hands, looked at him like she couldn't believe someone had intervened. When the man pushed back his chair to stand, Daniel raised his hand, not in threat, but in warning. The sleeve of his shirt slid down, revealing an old, faded navy anchor tattoo inked near his wrist. Something shifted. The man froze. So did half the restaurant. That tattoo, the mark of someone who'd been in the service, who'd faced storms and never backed down, said more than words ever could. "Sit down," Daniel said quietly. And the man did. The manager came over, the woman gathered her things, and the restaurant slowly returned to life. Daniel didn't say anything more, he just went back to his seat with Lily, who was staring at him with wide eyes. "Daddy, were you in the Navy?" she asked. He smiled faintly. "A long time ago, sweetheart." But what neither of them knew then, was that the woman he just defended would return to his life in a way that would change everything. 2 weeks later, it was raining, the kind of cold November rain that makes you nostalgic for things you don't even remember clearly. Daniel had just finished a long shift at the auto shop. His hands were stained with grease, his back sore, but he was content. Life had been simple, predictable. Until he walked into Lily's school and saw her. The same woman from the restaurant, standing by the principal's office, holding a small box of donation flyers. She turned and froze, her eyes widening. "You're the guy from the restaurant," he finished, smiling slightly. She laughed softly, nervous but warm. "I never got to thank you properly. I'm Emma. I volunteer here for the community reading program." From that day, they began crossing paths, at the library, the park, and once again at the same restaurant where fate had first thrown them together. Each time, Daniel found himself opening up a little more. Emma had a calm strength that mirrored his own, but her eyes carried the same quiet sadness, the kind born from loss. Over coffee one evening, she finally told him. Her husband had been in the Navy too, deployed on the same fleet Daniel once served on. He never made it back. When she saw Daniel's tattoo that day, she said, it felt like a ghost from her past had stepped in to protect her. Daniel didn't know what to say. For years, he had carried guilt from a mission gone wrong, one that cost lives. He never talked about it, not even with Lily. But hearing Emma's story stirred something in him, a piece of himself he thought he'd buried forever. In the weeks that followed, Daniel and Emma found solace in shared stories of survival, hers from loss, his from regret. Their bond grew naturally, gently. Lily adored her, and for the first time in a long time, Daniel began to believe he deserved happiness again. But peace never comes easy. One evening, as they were leaving the restaurant together, the same man from that first encounter appeared outside, angry and intoxicated. He shouted, accusing Daniel of humiliating him. Lily clung to Daniel's leg, terrified. Emma froze. Daniel stepped forward. He didn't fight, didn't shout. He simply said, "You don't get to scare people anymore." The man hesitated, then backed away, realizing he was no match for the quiet strength in Daniel's eyes. When it was over, Emma turned to him, tears in her eyes. "You didn't just save me that day," she whispered. "You reminded me what courage looks like." Daniel looked down at the old tattoo, rain running over it like time washing away pain. "Courage isn't about fighting," he said softly. "It's about standing up when it matters, even when you're scared." That night, as they drove home, Lily dozed off in the back seat. Emma reached over, took Daniel's hand, and said, "Maybe fate doesn't make mistakes after all." He smiled, eyes on the wet road ahead. Maybe not. The camera would fade out there, headlights cutting through the rain, a tired but hopeful man finally finding peace, and a woman who saw beyond his scars to the heart that still fought for good. Because sometimes, the smallest acts of courage, a single moment of standing up, can change more than a day. They can change an entire life.